both so much for being here, and what a delight to be here in one of this wonderful venue. 33 years CCA has been here, and this is one of the reasons that makes Santa Fe so special for why my husband Joe Wilson and I moved here to this community with our children. And it's these sort of things that, these sort of venues that make it such a unique place. I want to get right to, so that you can see the film because you'll have time for a drink afterwards. But let me tell you a little bit about it, starting with how I got involved. I was called about a year and a half ago by Lawrence Bender, who's the executive producer. And he asked me if I would be interested in doing, being interviewed for this film they were putting together. Now, I knew that they were serious people because they had done An Inconvenient Truth. And to be honest, let's face it, who talked about global warming before, in any substantive way, before An Inconvenient Truth? I said, yes, of course. But my secret agenda, frankly, not so secret now, was, oh, thank goodness, because I get to talk about something that I was passionate about. This is what I actually did as a covert CIA operations officer. I dare say that most of the public knows me because I was sort of the girl on the leak, so to speak. My covert identity was betrayed under the Bush administration because they were really angry with my husband for having pointed out that maybe WMD wasn't the reason they went to war in Iraq. Nevertheless, this allowed me to speak about something that I cared about very deeply. And in ways, as you will see in the film coming up, that are completely nonpartisan in nature. This is an issue of national security. This is not a Republican issue. This is not a Democratic issue, as it should be. There are at least 11 world leaders in the film. The director, Lucy Walker, spent at least 2.5 years tracking down everyone from Gorbachev to Tony Blair to Musharraf. You'll see many others in the film. And these, in fact, are all men, and they are all men, that at one time or another literally had their finger on the button, the proverbial button. And they, to a person, have come to the conclusion that we can't continue this way, that we can no longer continue in this doctrine that we had used for many decades under the rubric of the Cold War of mutually assured destruction, the MAD acronym, which I love. But that this deterrence, the fact that you had this nuclear weapon, would stop the other from using it. The world has changed profoundly and fundamentally. We here in New Mexico, and I'm proud to say we are now 3 years on New Mexico residents. We're very happy here. But we here in New Mexico feel a certain, more than average connection, I would say, because of what is up the hill. As an aside, that's in fact why we settled here. In my other life, I went to Los Alamos quite a bit. And I always would stay in Santa Fe thinking, well, that's a nice place, never thinking that we would in fact end up here. We're very happy for doing so, but I digress. This film is an attempt to breach that divide from the kids that were born around the time the Berlin Wall fell. Until now, we have done precious, precious little with any sorts of reduction. The international community really has abdicated its responsibility in terms of what we should do to reduce our nuclear arsenal. The entire film will, I think, when you walk out of tonight, you will think that finally, I hope, that the only way to proceed is ultimately to get to zero. No one is saying that this will be easy, it won't be done on Wednesday, it's not going to be unilateral, but we have to set as our goal global zero. I personally have changed, or I should say rather, evolved in my own position. When I was working as a covert operations officer at the CIA, I was working on what I hope were very smart and creative and secure operations to get into the procurement networks of either rogue nations, sub-states, terrorists. I was working very much at that nexus of terrorism and WMD. And we were working full out on that. But in retrospect, all we were really doing was delaying the inevitable. And at the time, because you're chasing things so hard and so fast, you don't really think about that. But that's all we were doing, slowing down. And so I have now, through my own thinking and readings and just reflecting on this, have come to the realization that I believe the only way ahead is ultimately to get to zero. Fortunately, I'm in good company. We have a president in the White House, President Obama, who even as candidate Obama spoke about getting to global zero. Zero, not just a double standard, it's for everyone. Because we need to drain the swamp. With the proliferation of nuclear technology and nuclear weapons in the world today, and you will see this in very vivid detail in the film, we are no longer, ironically, in the position where the nuclear powers are the ones that, or the ones that possess the nuclear weapons are the ones that are the powerful ones. In fact, we are weaker because of the proliferation of nuclear technology. And I think the only rational mind is to set out this as our objective and to move toward it. At the end, you will see a couple, it's not just like let's hold hands and hope. No, there's actually very clear, disciplined, orchestrated ways to get to this. It will be through significant and intrusive inspections, monitoring, verification process, protocols that everyone must be held applicable, held reliable to. And what we're, ultimately, that's what we need to get to. So I leave you this evening with a film that I want you to walk out of here and think about. It's not comfortable as an individual. It's not like an inconvenient truth where you go home and go, oh, I'm just going to change all my labels and I'll feel better. It's not that easy. However, there is the power, of the individual. You'll see a little clip of President Kennedy talking about the reduction in nuclear testing. And he was talking about this to rapturous crowds, cheering. And he said, if I'd known this was popular, I would have done this a long time ago. Because there is the groundswell of popular opinion. Ultimately, it'll be the highest political leaders who sign these negotiations, but it starts here. And I would urge you, if this touches you in any way, to please just tell a friend, say please go and see this and think about it. There's two ways that you can get more information. You'll see at the end, but I'll tell you again now. It's globalzero.org or takepart.com. And those two websites, you can do a couple things. You can petition our 2 senators here in New Mexico to sign the START Treaty. That's a good way to begin between the US and Russia. And you can find out more about this issue. You can sign the Global Zero Declaration, which at least 500,000 people have signed thus far. Or you can find out, where else this is playing and call up your friend in, San Francisco and say, make sure you go see this. The only way this kind of film, and this is a little documentary, as lovely as it's been screened at Sundance and at Cannes, and it's been at TED, and it's been at Aspen Festival. The only way that it continues is by getting people in the seats. So it's really important, if you find this in any way that moves you, please tell someone to please come see it. Thank you again to CAA, to Gail Dillingham, who has been such an important part of this whole issue here in Santa Fe. Thank you again for coming. I don't want to say enjoy the film, but absorb the film. Thank you.